Hey guys, Ms. Hernandez here. I'm going to be walking you through a one length below the shoulders, although you can use this technique for a one length above the shoulder, so like a bob or an in-between, or even a lob where it's longer in the front. The only thing that would change in those situations are subsection sizes and subsection angles. So this is something that you want to master pretty well in order to be good at all your other haircuts. So I have already got a neck strip on her. She's sectioned in 4 quadrants, which we're going to be using a lot for our haircuts. In cosmetology are 4 section quadrants, so you want to get really clean with those. Making sure you utilize your mirror to make sure your lines are straight and they're symmetrical and balanced. But I'm going to go ahead and close this with the back of the cape in her front. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to have a nice clean palette back here to do her haircut. Okay, so when we think about a one length below, one of the things that comes to my mind is the elevation. The elevation is 0 degrees. So when you're cutting this haircut, one of the biggest things, and I'm going to go ahead and clip this just in the front to kind of keep it nice and tight so it doesn't come off during my haircut. One of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing is practicing the right elevation. If I turn my fingers out towards me so that I can see what I'm cutting, I'm no longer at 0 degrees. I have now elevated that hair. And technically, when I put my fingers in to hold the hair, that's also not 0 degrees, but because we're learning, we need our fingers to hold that tension. So we're gonna teach you with our fingers, but you can also do this entire haircut without your fingers. Again, elevation is key. There is none in this haircut whatsoever, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick up my comb, and I'm going to come back here to the back of the mannequin, and I'll turn myself around here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working in 1/2 inch subsections. I'm going to say that one more time, 1/2 inch subsections. The subsectioning is going to depend on how thick the hair is. In other words, the density of the hair and also the texture of the hair. Is her hair coarse? Is it fine? Is it fine but she has a lot of it? In which case my subsections may need to be smaller, or if she has finer, thinner hair, my subsections can be larger. When you move into cosmetology too, I start to teach you how to cut haircuts a little bit faster with the same adequacy as you would when you're in Cosmo 1 taking smaller subsections, so that we can get our speed up, but we have to be accurate with our haircuts first. So the best thing for us to do to execute a one length below is to make sure that we're staying symmetrical on both sides. We've already talked about the purpose of our comb, and why that's so important is because when we're cutting hair, these teeth, the finer teeth, are what's going to give us tension when we're cutting the hair. We want to make sure that it's nice and clean cuts. That's what we're going to use that. And then our wide teeth, or wide tooth, is to subsection. So I'm going to pull down one subsection at a time. I'm going to pull down my right subsection. I'm going to comb it down. I want to comb that hair in the direction that I want my part line to go. Okay, so I'm going to comb all of this hair over to the side, and then I'm going to take my wide tooth and I'm going to carve out a straight across 1/2 inch subsection, just like that. Okay, now what happens is when you take this hair and you comb it towards you and then you come in like this, you don't always get a clean line. But if you comb it over to the side, everything to one side, and then just carve your line, it does the work for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clip this back up, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on this subsection. I'm going to take this clip down. I'm going to comb all this hair in the direction that I want my line to go. I'm going to back up into the line that I've already created, and then I create one swift line. Boom, I'm done. I don't have to keep picking and picking and picking and picking to make sure that my line is nice and clean. Okay, that's one thing I notice students struggle with the most, is getting their lines clean. If you follow that just simple rule, you'll be fine. All right, so I need to create a guide for this haircut. How I create my guide for this haircut is once I have all of this hair pulled down together, I'm going to create a guide in the middle. And when we practice these haircuts, we usually take about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch off each time, so we have multiple times to practice. But for the video purpose, I'm going to take a little bit more. I'm going to pretend that my client wants to have about 1 inch off, okay? So I'm going to come in the middle of this, and I'm going to take about 1 inch of hair, 1 inch width, in between my fingers, okay? And I'm gonna comb that down. And again, we wanna make sure if this hair was drying or starting to dry, I would wanna make sure to spritz it as I go, because you cannot have a haircut that's half wet, half dry and be accurate with that haircut, okay? So here I am, notice I have my fine teeth now. I'm no longer using my wide teeth, I'm using my fine teeth. I'm gonna come in as close to the scalp as I can with that comb, and I'm gonna chase that comb right behind it with my fingers, right behind it all the way down. That is so important. Because if I take this comb and I comb it and then I eventually come down with my fingers, it's not gonna be as tight. It's not gonna be as accurate. So it's so, so important that I come directly behind my comb with my fine teeth all the way down, chasing it down to the bottom. Now, I'm gonna add one more thing to your plate. Notice that my fingers, my position is parallel to the floor. I can't see what I'm about to cut. If I bend my fingers this way, I can see, but that's not 0 degrees, right? That's elevation. So I have to put my body in a position where I can see. You can stand shoulder width apart and squat down like this to see what you need to see. You can put one leg in front of the other and then do kind of a lunge effect, which I really don't like doing that. Or some students get so into it, they squat all the way down to the floor. So the biggest thing is that you're not pulling the hair towards you like this to cut it, because that's not 0 degrees. And you're not coming down to 0 degrees and then turning your fingers up. When I turn my fingers up, I'm now at elevation. My elevation must be tight and close, and my fingers have to be parallel to what the floor is doing in order for it to be a true 0 degree haircut. Okay, so enough talking. I'm gonna come down, walk you through what I do. Fine teeth goes in, fingers chase directly behind it. I come all the way down. I'm taking an inch off, making sure I'm parallel to the floor, palm my comb, and I cut. Okay? I'm gonna continue that. I'm gonna go center right, and then I'm gonna go center left. If you are left-handed, you would go center left and then center right. But majority of us are right-handed. But again, if you're left-handed, you would do center center left, center right. Everyone else who's right-handed, center right, center left. Now, I'm gonna add another thing to your plate. I cannot move from my position from standing directly behind her. I have to pretend that there is a line running straight across right here, and if I cross over that line, my foot will burn, whatever. But that's gonna encourage me to cut off her corner, and it's gonna create a rounded effect versus a traditional 0 degree, parallel to the floor, everything's one length straight across. So I cannot move. Once I station myself, I can move my feet out, I can move them in, I can step around to subsection, but I always have to come back to my cutting position to cut this one length, or I will cut her corners off. And if I cut her corners off, the front's gonna be shorter than the back. And if that's not what she wants, we're in trouble. Or we can end up with one side shorter than the other, which is a very common mistake when we're learning how to cut. So I'm gonna spray this again, just because I wanna keep the hair wet. And now I'm gonna cut center right. So I'm still standing in my cutting position. I haven't moved to her corner. I haven't stepped out in any alignment whatsoever. I'm gonna go ahead and take this whole section here with the fine teeth of my comb, chase my comb all the way down to my guide, which I can see right there, okay? I'm gonna do that one more time. Fine teeth of my comb, chase my comb all the way down to my guide. I'm going to squat down, making sure that my fingers are parallel to the floor. My elevation is at 0. I'm not bringing it out to me, and I cut. Again, still in that same position, so I get a straight across line. I'm gonna do the same thing on my left side. I'm gonna go ahead and comb that hair down. Fine teeth of my comb, chasing my comb all the way down. Notice I haven't stepped. I'm still in the same position. My feet are shoulder width apart because I'm gonna squat down here in a second. And I'm gonna come down, chase my comb with the fine teeth, bringing that hair to my guide, right there. I'll do it one more time. Fine teeth of my comb, bringing that hair to my guide. I'm gonna squat down, making sure that I can see my guide. Fingers are parallel to the floor. Elevation is low, and I cut. I'm only gonna cut as much hair as I can control at a time, so I'm gonna do that one more time. Fine teeth of my comb, straight down, chasing my comb, parallel to the floor, low elevation, and I cut. Okay? All right, so how do I check this to make sure that it's straight? Before you call Ms. Berrigan or myself over, you can put your tools down, and you can take both of the ends and kind of bring them down together to see if they match, which in my case they do, they're good. Another thing you can do is you can come in with your comb and bring everything together and check to see for balance, which we're good, okay? So that would be a good thing before you call your instructor over, is to check yourself, because eventually you're gonna start checking your own haircuts. There's not gonna be anybody there to check you. You check yourself as you get older. While you're here with us, we'll always check you. All right, so I'm gonna continue that process up, taking down my next subsection, comb that hair in the direction that I want it to part. I'm gonna comb it over, okay? I'm gonna take a straight across 1/2 inch subsection, drop it, flip it back up. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Comb the hair in the direction that I want it to go. And again, I can move around right now because I'm subsectioning. I'm not cutting, so no big deal. But once I start cutting, I better get right back behind that line. I cannot go in front of that line because I don't want to cut off her corners. She does not want her corners to be shorter than her back, or her sides to be shorter rather. I'm gonna re-wet that hair. That sounded like a remix there. Gonna re-wet my hair because my hair has to be 100% wet. I cannot cut half dry, half wet hair. That is not professional, and you're gonna end up with the boo-boo if you do that. Okay, same technique. I'm coming to the center. I'm gonna pick up my hair. Now my guide is coming from underneath. I'm gonna take about 1 inch to 1.5 inches section of hair in the middle. I'm gonna use my comb, the fine teeth of my comb, and then I'm gonna chase my comb all the way down to where I can see my guide. Now, my guide is there, you can see, okay? If I can't see through the existing hair that's on top of this guide, I need to take a smaller subsection. It is so important that I can see my guide before I cut. If you can't see your guide, back up and take a smaller subsection, okay? Especially when you're first learning to cut, especially when you have dark hair like this on a dark cape, sometimes it can be confusing at first. So I'm gonna come down. I'm using my fine teeth right now. I used my wide teeth earlier to section. I wanna make sure I'm standing directly behind her. My feet are shoulder width apart. I'm gonna come in with my fine teeth, chase my comb all the way down to my guide. Make sure that I can see my guide. Fingers are parallel to the floor. My elevation is low, and I cut. Okay? Same thing on my right side. Chasing my comb with the fine teeth of my comb. Everything comes to the back. Once I get this, she's shedding a lot. She's a new mannequin. Here, chase all the way down. Fingers are parallel to the floor. Elevation is low, and I cut. Okay, again, I haven't moved my body. I'm not going to. Next subsection comes down. Center right, center left in my case because I'm right-handed. I'm using the fine teeth of my comb. Notice how many times I'm combing this hair. I want to make sure that it's nice and tight and nice and precise when I go to cut it. So I'm going to come in, chase my comb all the way down. Make sure my fingers are parallel to the floor and I get down low to where I can see that elevation. I never want to bring the elevation to me, again, because it's no longer 0 degrees. Last subsection. Straight back. I want to comb with the fine teeth of my comb. Chase my comb all the way down. Fingers are parallel to the floor. Very low elevation, 0 degrees. Okay? So I can stop here again and I can check my balance, making sure that I'm not longer on one side, and then I would call my teacher over. I'm going to go ahead and continue up the back. Again, combing my hair in the direction that I want it to go. Taking my 1/2 inch subsection. And we're probably not going to have as much to cut as we move up the head. That's totally normal because even if we're a brand new mannequin, they tend to already have what we like to call chemical layers in their hair because they have been chemically treated, so they already have layers in their hair from being chemically processed.
So your first few haircuts, as you move up the head, you probably won't have a whole lot to cut, and that's normal, okay? So again, spray. I'm gonna come to the middle one more time. Get about an inch of hair. And remember, our guide comes from the bottom. I'm using the fine teeth of my comb. Fingers parallel to the floor, making sure I'm standing directly behind her. Fingers parallel to the floor, low elevation. I come down to my cut line and I cut. Again, don't bevel that line to you. You come to it, okay? These subsections start to get wider once we get up past the occipital, right in through here, closer to the crown. So we'll probably take more subsections as we cut across that. But again, everything's gonna come to the back, okay? I'm gonna chase my comb all the way down, parallel to the floor. Low elevation, get down to where I can see my cut line and I cut. Again, if I can't see my guide, I need to resection a thinner subsection. Okay, fine teeth of my comb. I'm gonna come in, chase my comb all the way down to the bottom, parallel to the floor, making sure that I can see my cut line and my guide, and I'm good to go. Don't bring that hair to you. You go to it. Okay, left side. I'm gonna comb this hair down, again, chasing with my finger with the fine teeth of the comb, very, very low elevation, parallel to the floor, get down to where I can see the cut line and I cut. Okay, last subsection. Even though I'm here in the mantle part of the, or behind the ear, this is the mantle, I'm not gonna step over. I'm bringing this back to me, very important. Okay, I haven't moved my body, all I've done so far is squat. Okay, fine teeth of my comb, bring the hair back, fingers parallel to the floor, chasing my comb all the way down to the bottom, low elevation, and I look for my cut line and I cut. Again, don't bring your cut to you, and don't come down low and then bend your fingers, okay? Okay guys, so I went ahead and finished the back, doing the same technique all the way until I had no more subsections left, bringing everything to the back, low elevation, my fingers are parallel to the floor, making sure that I'm sectioning with my wide, and I am dispersing and combing with my fine teeth when I cut. Really, really important that, again, you're making sure you're bringing everything to the back. You're not rolling your fingers up. You're not pulling the hair to you. The elevation has to stay very low. Now, on my sides, when this comes to a person, she's gonna have shoulders, right? And those shoulders can get in the way. With a mannequin, it's not that big a deal, but whenever you do use this chair here, like to cut, sometimes when you're cutting, this kind of acts as a shoulder. So what I teach my students to do is to pick her up and turn her. So you'll pick her up, cape and all, and you'll just turn her. I'm not gonna pick her up, but you'll pick her up and turn her. Or you can just turn her like I'm turning her now. And that way when you're cutting on a nice flat back, right? We don't have the shoulder to worry about. She's looking over her shoulder at this point, right? So her hair is falling behind, and we can just line up with the back. We don't even have to move. We can stay in that same position, squat, all the things that we've been doing. And she's gonna want a nice, accurate haircut. So she's gonna do whatever you ask her to do, okay? So another big thing is you wanna make sure your client's not crossing their legs. That can also throw off your cut line, so be very careful with that, making sure that she or he is not crossing their legs, okay? So I'm gonna take this down, this section. Again, you know I'm gonna say it, comb that hair in the direction that you want the line to go. I'm gonna take a 1/2 inch subsection down, okay? Section that back up. And now, remember, she's looking over her shoulder, so let's pretend that her shoulder's over here right now, right? So this is her back. I have just a clean palette here. I don't have to worry about her shoulder in the way, none of the things. I don't have to worry that she is going to be too short in the front, too long in the front, whatever, okay? Another thing, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel self-conscious or be mean, but sometimes people's ears stick out, okay? And that can also affect how their hair lays. So if you happen to have somebody in your chair, and don't say, oh, your ears stick out so far, I'm gonna have to help you here. You are just going to know. If their ears stick out a little bit and it's interfering with the haircut, what can end up happening is if you cut it too tight, there could be like a hole right here between the front and the back where the ear's kind of popping out. So if you come across that, you know, as you're learning, you know to make room for it, okay? But our mannequins, luckily their ears are just flat to their head, so we don't have to worry about that today. But just so you know. Okay, I'm gonna disperse that water. Again, I just sprayed her down. fine teeth of my comb standing in the back, right, because this is her back, I am going to take some of that hair from the back. That's going to be my guide right there, okay? That's going to be my guide. And I'm going to take a section of this hair. I'm going to comb it down with my fine teeth because I want this nice and tight. I'm coming in with zero elevation as close as I can to her. My fingers are parallel to the floor. I get down low to where I can see my guide and I cut. You continue the same thing in the front, okay? Again, being careful of the ear, being mindful that you're at 0 degrees, being mindful that you're chasing your comb with a fine teeth, and making sure that your elevation is low, your finger position is parallel to the floor. Okay, coming down parallel to my floor, and I cut. Okay, now I have my guide for my sides. Now, depending on how thick her hair is, you might be able to take 1-inch subsections on the side. Again, just depending on how thick, because there's less hair from here to here than there is from here to here, right? So from the nape to the crown, there's a lot more hair than there is from above the ear to the apex. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this down. I'm gonna take just a little bit larger subsection here, about a 1/2 inch. Now, if she has a lot of hair, or it's very, very curly, or it's very coarse, we wanna still take 1/2 inch subsection. But if she's fine and we can still very clearly, definitively see our guide, you can take larger subsections, that's not an issue. I'm gonna spray my subsection. And guys, when you're spraying, you don't need to like drench your client, okay? Just spray enough to where you have plenty of control of the hair, especially on a mannequin with her hair being so dry, okay? And you can also use detangler if you'd like. All right, so now I'm gonna come down. Now I not only have guide coming from the back, I also have guide coming from underneath, right here, okay? So I have that guide nice and clear for me. There's no question of where I should cut. As you move up the head, we didn't talk about this in the back, but as you move up the head, if there's nothing for you to cut, please do not invent something to cut because you think you have to cut something. That's when we run into boo-boos. If for some reason you're like, okay, I'm not sure if I should cut this or if there's nothing to cut, just call your teacher over. Let them show you, hey, you know what? And they'll probably come over and be like, you don't have anything to cut. You've done everything, you know, so keep going. What ends up happening when we're like, oh, I gotta cut this, I just gotta cut something, then we end up with like hair that's this short in the front and then this long in the back. So please be mindful of that. Don't feel pressure that you have to cut something if you don't see anything to cut, okay? Especially if it's a person. They don't want that haircut. All right, so we're gonna comb this down, taking some hair from the back forward. I'm only gonna cut about 1 inch at a time. I'm gonna come down to my cut line and I'm parallel to the floor, low elevation, and cut to my cut line, okay? I'm just gonna continue that same thing. I wanna be so mindful of my chasing my comb, making sure that I'm parallel to that floor, making sure that my elevation is low so that I get a nice, clean one length. Here we are. Okay. All right. Last subsection on the side, or this side rather. Now, here's a perfect example of nothing to cut because this young lady has a face frame or layers in her hair. So, I'm gonna switch to my fine teeth so that it's nice and tight. You can see that hair doesn't even reach. It's shorter. So I most definitely am not going to cut anything because there's nothing to cut. This is already shorter than this. Okay? All right. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. This time I'm going to just go through the motions. Okay guys, so she's complete. one thing that I want to definitely do with her is I want to come in front of her and I want to check her balance. So before I call my teacher over, before any of those things, I want to come over and I want to check her balance. And this is how we do this. So we take our hands and we come to the side of her. Remember, we didn't cut her here. We cut her here. So that's how we're going to check her. So I'm going to come over to the sides of her and I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to check her balance. Okay, and she feels pretty good to me. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing in her back. I'll turn her around, get behind her, and I'll just kind of come in and check her balance in the back, making sure, you know, everything looks good. She's not, one side's not longer than the other, all the things. Now, one last thing that you want to make sure you do on a person especially is you want to take this nice clean part and you want to comb everything back, okay? Now, this is for people who are just getting like a traditional one length, maybe a little girl, you know, somebody who has really long hair, but they want it all in one length. You want to comb this hair back just to make sure that when you do comb this back, nothing hangs over that cut line. And if there's anything hanging over that there you would cut it exactly the same way, okay? So again, that's your one length below the shoulders, focusing on your 0 degree. There is no elevation in this whatsoever. You cannot pick this hair up and you cannot bring it down to 0 and then double. We stayed in the back to cut the back and we stayed in the back to cut both sides, okay?